Namaha. Good afternoon to all of you. Myself, Dr. Nilesh Patil, Assistant Professor at Dr. D.Y. Patil Ayurved College. I welcome all the students and lecturers gathered here for an interesting lecture on health benefits from transcendental meditation. I would also like to welcome the respected dignitaries on the dais, Vice Chancellor of DPU, Dr. N.J. Pawar sir, Registrar of DPU, Mr. Suryakar sir, Principal of our college, Dr. Gunwanta Yevla sir, and our honorary guest, Mr. Lothar Pirk. I am totally aware that this is a post-lunch session, and I am actually asking you to go against a little bit of your physiology here. But coincidentally, within the last few days, we have just heard from one of the international personality who is coming from the lineage of Yogananda Paramahamsa, that whenever we are asked how are we feeling, we should say we are always awake and ready. That's what he said to all of us. And there is one sutra in Ayurveda, that is how one student or disciple should behave during his discipleship. That is Shuchir Guru Paro Daksho Standra Nidra Vivarjitaha. Shuchi. What Shuchi means is being pure at your mind and heart level. What is Guru Para? That is you are devoted to your mentor. Then after that, Daksha means always alert, always prompt. And last one is more important, that is Tandra and Nidra Vivarjita. That is you should be devoid of all the lethargy, drowsiness and sleep, and you should always be prompt to gain a knowledge. So that's why I will again tell you all of that is we all should be ready and awake, so that we can all grasp what our today's guest lecture, Mr. Lothar Pirk, is here to give us about an interesting lecture about transcendental meditation and its health benefits. So I welcome our chief guest here. I would also like to welcome our chief guest on behalf of our DPU. So I request our Vice Chancellor, Mr. Dr. N.J. Pawar sir, to welcome our chief guest. Thank you sir. And as we all know, as tradition goes, we all start our sessions with the prayer to Dhanvantari. So I request all the respected principals and students and teachers gathered here to stand at the places, and I also would like to call upon Dr. Ojada Pol madam for Dhanvantari Stavan.
शङ्खं चक्रं जलौकां दधतमृतघटं चारुदोर्भिश्चतुर्भिः सूक्ष्मस्वच्छातिरुद्यांशुकपरिविलसन् मौलिमम्भोजनेत्रं कालाम्भोदोज्ज्वलाङ्गं कटितटविलसन् चारुपीताम्बराढ्यं वन्दे धन्वन्तरितं निखिलगदवन प्रौढदावाग्निलीलम्.
Thank you, madam. Now I would like to request our principal, Dr. Gunwanta Yevla sir, to briefly introduce our guest.
Thank you, Dr. Nilesh, and good afternoon to all. Respected Vice Chancellor sir, Dr. N.J. Pawar, Registrar of the University, Dr. Suryakar sir, and our guest speaker, Mr. Lothar Pirk from Germany. Personally, as well as from my institute, as well as from Dr. D.Y. Patil Vidyapit, Pune, I would like to thank Mr. Lothar for coming here and to share his knowledge about the transcendental meditation which is a practice developed by the Maharshi Mahesh Yogi, and they did a great research on that particular part, and it's very useful to maintain the health as well as to remove the disease condition or to cure the disease and to make the society disease free. This is the motto of Maharshi Ayurveda, and they are teaching this particular technique, transcendental meditation, to many, you can say, healthy persons as well as diseased persons in the European countries as well as in the United States. So thank you, Mr. Lothar, for coming here, for accepting the invitation and showing interest in delivering this particular introductory lecture to our students as well as the faculty members. Mr. Lothar Park is working in Germany. He has a very, you can say, a very important as well as a historic place. That is a palace actually in Germany, and the city name is Badems, and he has a very innovative way of doing Panchakarma over there. There are almost 30,000 patients treated in last 20 years with the Panchakarma treatment, with the transcendental meditation also. And the European football team, we all are, you can say, familiar with those teams. They are also going to have a Panchakarma treatment over there. And there are many, you can say, celebrities from the European countries. They are coming to take the Panchakarma treatment. So with this introduction, I stop myself here and to make the dais open for our speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I request our guest speaker to start his lecture.
Namaskar. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnur, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I'm so happy and honored to be here with you, respected professors and leaders of this wonderful, prestigious institution. And also I'm very happy to meet so many students here. I'm grateful to India, the land of the Veda. This is a supreme knowledge which I believe can solve all the problems of the world. It's the most precious heritage and cultural tradition in the world. And I can say that because I have 45 years of experience applying Vedic knowledge in daily life. And I was so blessed as a disciple of Maharshi Mahesh Yogi to get this knowledge in a very pure level, pure form. And before I will talk mainly about the technique of transcendental meditation, I would like to put it in the perspective of Ayurveda. So what you see here on this picture is what Professor Yola mentioned. He came to visit us. This is a very prestigious place because of the history. It used the palace of the emperor. And also we have 6 healing water hot springs under the building. They have been used for more than 2,000 years by now. And at the invitation of our state government, I was asked about 30 years ago to start a clinic there. And we have a wonderful team of staff, about 90 people, who are dedicated, who are all well trained. And the clinic has received about 30 prestigious national and international awards. This is a picture of His Holiness Maharshi Mahesh Yogi, who was the disciple of the Shankaracharya of Jyotirmat, Brahmananda Saraswati Jagat Guru, and he brought the Vedic wisdom in behalf of the tradition of Vedic masters with Lord Narayana, Brahma, Vashishta, Vedavyas, Shankara, in a form to the world that the consciousness of the people can be raised. We have made tremendous programs, but we have also many problems in the world. And these problems can only be solved by raising the consciousness of the people. And the core technique for this is the technique of transcendental meditation. When Maharishi started like 60 years ago with transcendental meditation, around 7-8 million people from all cultures, all walks of life, learned it and practiced it twice a day for 20 minutes. But then he realized that the meditation alone is not enough to really get enlightenment. Ayurveda is also needed to purify the body. And Maharishi took the initiative to work with the family traditions of India, the family traditions of Vaidya, and he worked with the great Vaidyas, like you may know, Dr. Balaraj Maharshi, greatest expert at that time in Dravyagun, Dr. Triguna, world-leading expert in Nadi Vigyan, Dr. Dwivedi, who was the expert in Rasayanas from Gujarat University, and Maharishi held hundreds of conferences with the family traditions to revive those aspects of Ayurveda which had been lost during the occupancy of the British and the Moguls. Many things were lost and only kept in the family traditions. And Maharishi Ayurveda is utilizing all these precious aspects of knowledge in an integrated and a scientific way. That's why we call it Maharishi Ayurveda. It has become a fashion. So many hotels in their spas, they offer some Abhyanga or Shirodhara. And it's not really that they're very well trained in Maharishi Ayurveda. So Maharishi was sending the brand name. And when we speak about Maharishi Ayurveda, we also refer to the ancient fathers of Ayurveda. Charaka was Maharishi, Sushruta was Maharishi. So we refer to the authentic sources of Ayurveda. Maharishi organized many conferences around the world with modern doctors and researchers. And together with Professor Ranadaji and Dr. Yola and Dr. Triguna, we have organized 7 international conferences in the last years, which were also supported by the Ayush Ministry in the Netherlands, in many countries in Europe, in London. And as Dr. Yola said already, Maharishi's motto was to create a disease-free society. And I know that for many people this sounds too ambitious. But what I have seen over the last 40 years, I'm convinced if Ayurveda would be introduced already in the kindergarten, the principles of diet and all the lifestyle that Ayurveda recommends, if this would be spread everywhere, we could create a disease-free society. So that is our goal. And the goals of Ayurveda are mainly prevention, rejuvenation, cure, and what may be new for most of the people, the goal of Ayurveda is the same as the goal of yoga, and that is to get enlightenment. We know from Maharishi that there are 7 states of consciousness. 7 states of consciousness, and most people live only waking, dreaming, and sleeping states of consciousness. And the Vedic technologies, transcendental meditation, the advanced techniques, they develop also the higher states of consciousness, transcendental consciousness, cosmic consciousness, God consciousness, Bhakti Chetana, and Brahmi Chetana, unity consciousness. The knowledge is there, we just have to apply it. And finally, collective health is also part of Ayurveda. If we have wars in the world, if we have terrorism, that means if there's crime in society, the collective health is weak. And we know from the yoga tradition of Patanjali that in the vicinity of sattva, negativity just disappears. There are many studies about the group effect, the group dynamics of consciousness with the application of TM and its advanced programs. I don't have to tell you much about Ayurveda because you all, the students, you know that it's the most profound, you know that it is consciousness-based. What I meant is that Ayurveda without developing enlightenment is not really complete. It is holistic, authentic, it's free from harmful side effects, it's prevention-oriented, it's cost-effective, and it's capable of creating collective health. Easy to implement. You all know this definition of health here from Sushruta. I would just like to stress on one point. It's not only the balance of the dosha and the dhatus and the digestion, everything working properly, but if you pay attention to the last part of this wonderful definition is those whose self, mind and senses remain full of bliss, they are called a healthy person. And the technology to experience bliss within ourselves is the simple technique of transcendental meditation. I have been asked many times by television and press on so many tours that are made around the world, in particular in Germany, what is the difference between Ayurveda and modern medicine? And I like to explain the development of disease into 6 stages. And modern medicine has many merits. I wouldn't be here today without modern medicine, I must admit. But modern medicine is not really capable of treating successfully chronic diseases. In spite of all the diagnostic tools that we have today, from the Ayurvedic perspective, modern medicine diagnostic tools can detect diseases only when they have manifested in stage number 4 or 5. And through the Nadi Vigyan, the pulse diagnosis, which Maharishi has revived from the family traditions, it is possible to detect from the pulse stage number 1, 2, 3. And when you detect the diseases, which is, of course, we all know, a result of the imbalance of the doshas. And if we detect and start to treat it before they manifest, it's much easier. And so this is something that we have started to introduce here in the college. When I came with my colleagues, Dr. Girish Momaya and Dr. Schrott, about 2.5 years ago, Dr. Schrott gave some samples to maybe 100 students, and they were really amazed how good this works. And I know from many visits to Indian universities and Ayurveda colleges that generally the students can learn only the superficial value of the pulse, to feel the doshas, but to feel the sub-doshas and to feel the dhatus in the pulse, and to feel when the disease started and how it has been developing. This is not available in universities today. And Maharishi, with the help of family traditions, have revived that knowledge. And he wanted, actually, Maharishi wanted every mother to know the pulse reading, so she can take the pulse of the husband and the kids, and she can feel a few days before the cold is coming and say, now have some more ginger and leave away the cheese and things like that, and it will not have to come. And this is one of the great courses that we have evolved with beautiful animations and graphics. And Dr. Schrott said that he realized that the Ayurveda students learn the pulse much more easier than the German doctors, because you know all the concept behind it, you know all the sub-doshas and so on. So this will be one of the first courses. We signed a memorandum of understanding that we would like to offer to implement in your prestigious institution. Now, when you detect the diseases in the early stages, in Maharishi Ayurveda we have about 20 different treatment modalities. Just to be complete, I quickly go for the most important ones. Consciousness is the basis. If we experience bliss consciousness, many problems get solved automatically. And also, when we develop our consciousness, our intuition will become better. You don't have to tell your patients everything. They cannot remember what to do, all the recommendations. But if the consciousness is more awake, the intuition is better, then they know, I shouldn't mix this food with this food, or I shouldn't have the late dinner, or whatever. So the development of consciousness, and now we use only about 10% of the mind. This is the prime thing in Maharishi Ayurveda. Pulse diagnosis, we can even treat with the Vedic mantras that are pertaining to the different parts of the body. Maharishi's successor, Dr. Tony Nader, very renowned professor of neurology, he discovered under Maharishi's guidance that our body is reflecting the structure and the function of the Vedas in a perfect way. It would need a longer presentation to explain, But if there is something wrong in the body, that means the intelligence in that organ is not working properly anymore. And if we would listen to the sounds of the Vedas, the mantras that pertain to that part of the body, the level of intelligence can cure itself. It's a fantastic technology, and I think this will be very important in the future. Herbal medicines, diet, daily routine, panchakarma, yoga asanas, pranayam, even the Maharishi has developed with some experts how to use the gems by putting laser light through the gems to address specific imbalances in the body. Aromatherapy is a very great science. Jyotish is a very important part. We can exactly see why the disease is there, the karmic relations, and with the yagyas we can contribute to cure them. Sthapatya Veda, the science of architecture in accordance with natural law, has a tremendous benefit of the health. There are quite a few very fascinating studies we can show at a later stage. What are the benefits if you live in a proper Vastu? Gandharva Veda, Vedic organic food, that means the food is not only organic, but while the plants are growing, they're listening to the Vedic sounds, and collective health. This is a broad overview about the different treatment modalities. Now I come to the consciousness approach, the technique of Maharshi's transcendental meditation. Transcendental meditation is a very simple, natural, and effortless technique that we can learn in only 7 steps. We take about 5-6 days, 1.5 hours a day, and you learn how to settle down the activity of the mind. You will learn how to reach the state of pure consciousness, the state where you're not thinking anymore, but you're fully alert inside. It's a wonderful technique. It is blissful, it's easy to practice, and after the practice you feel full of energy. And it has spread mainly by word of mouth, but as you know, the Westerners, they want to understand everything, so the scientists started, when they heard the benefits, they started to do the first research on transcendental meditation. And the very first study that was done on the level of the oxygen consumption. When the mind settles down, the body also settles down because they are connected. And it takes about 6 hours of sleep before the metabolic rate drops down by 8%. And beginners who just learned transcendental meditation today or a few days ago, within only 5 minutes, the metabolic rate goes down in average by 16%. That means the physiological rest is about twice as deep as during sleep. And at the same time, now I need some help because I have inserted a video, but it's not working, so we will show later. At the same time, our brain waves become very synchronized. What happens during meditation? There are so many parts of the brain that we are not utilizing. And they get enlivened through the transcendental meditation technique. And the brain is producing alpha waves. They stand for restful alertness. So it's not like in sleep. You're fully awake during transcendental meditation. And there are many, many studies about the research of the brain waves. And also we have seen that the skin resistance, which is an indicator of relaxation, goes up. If you, for example, listen to classical Gandharva Veda music, you relax. Or you go to watch the sunrise, you know, in nature, you're completely happy and relaxed. The skin resistance may go up 50 kilo ohm. But when you practice transcendental meditation, within a few minutes, the skin resistance goes up 200 kilo ohms, 4 times as deep as aerobics. So it's really a unique difference. On the desktop. So if we do it after the end. Okay, sure. Yeah, thank you. So there are many, many studies that show the physiological changes during transcendental meditation. And when the scientists became aware of this, all these studies, they were published in very prestigious medical journals. in the Western world. And then they concluded that transcendental meditation provides a fourth major state of consciousness, which is called restful alertness. In Vedic terms, we would say this is Atma, this is Kaivalya. And this is what Lord Krishna meant when we read in Bhagavad Gita, Yogastha Kuru Kamani, established in being, perform action. Most people in the West, yoga has become so popular, but they think this is some bending, some postures. But yoga is the unification with that supreme state of inner unbounded consciousness. It is defined in Bhagavad Gita, when the frittis, the impulses, when they settle down to the pure consciousness, that is the experience of yoga. And that is what we can all experience in a very blissful, effortless way. Now I show you some of the studies that were conducted to measure the benefits of meditation. Anxiety is a great problem in our world, and every Western doctor even today would confirm, even if he's very skeptical, that about 60–70% of all diseases are stress related, right? We have tension, and then some symptoms manifest on the level of the body, and fear is a very big problem in our society. And this is a meta-analysis. There are 146 studies at the time the study was conducted about the influence of relaxation techniques in relation to the reduction of fear and anxiety. And what was found is that you can see here in the blue bar that transcendental meditation is more than twice as effective as other forms of meditation and relaxation, like progressive muscle relaxation, placebo, biofeedback, other mantra meditation, or concentration. This is a study that I like a lot. You know, heart diseases, high blood pressure is the main reason for death in the Western world. And the American Heart Association received $5 million from the National Institute of Health to look into alternative treatments to reduce the blood pressure. And those cardiologists, they took several months to decide how to do the study. And they decided we go for the most difficult task group. These were Afro-Americans living in the densely populated parts of big cities who had been suffering from hypertension for more than 20 years, and only those above 55 years. And then these people had the choice either to learn transcendental meditation or to do progressive muscle relaxation, or to have a combination of diet and exercise. And the study went for a period of 2 months, and you see here the diet and exercise really didn't help. It should have helped, but the compliance was not so good. The people couldn't really follow what they advised. Then the progressive muscle relaxation also had some good benefits in reducing high blood pressure, but TM was 4 times as effective as the progressive muscle relaxation. On the basis of this study, the National Institute of Health gave to the Maharishi International University, which is celebrating next week its Golden Jubilee, and they have right now 800 master students in Ayurveda. You can see how popular it's from around the world. And they have received $20 million to do further research. And my computer crashed before coming here, so I don't have the slide available, but I will tell you. They were measuring the clocking of the arteria in the neck with ultrasound. And they found that after only 2 months of practicing regularly TM, they could measure a significant reduction of the clocking of the arteria. Then they did another study they were taking about 70 patients who already had stents or bypass operations. And half of that group was learning TM and the other half not. And the study went over a period of 11 years. And what they found is that the new incidences with the meditators compared to the control group was only half. And the second finding that they had is that from the control group, half of the people had passed away and the meditators were still all alive. You can read all these studies on internet. Professor Yola can provide the link for you. They're all collected, published studies in prestigious journals. This study here shows the slowing down of the aging process. Aging is very much related to the factor of stress. And when you relax in the best possible way, TM is like having holidays twice a day. They were taking about 40 parameters from 2,000 people who had been practicing TM, 40 parameters, memory, blood pressure, chemical things in the blood, etc. And reaction time, so many different things. And they divided the meditators to 2,000 in the people who had been meditating up to 5 years and those who had been meditating for longer than 5 years. And they compared it with the average society in the United States, and the average age was about 40 years. And what they found is that the people who were meditating up to 5 years, their physiological age was 5 years younger. And those who had been meditating for more than 12 years, their age was about 12 years younger. This is, I would say, a highly significant study. It was conducted by the biggest health insurance company in the United States. They have in the state of Iowa 500,000 members, out of which 2,000 are practicing TM. And they were checking their medical data and their expenses over a period of 5 years. So you get very reliable things. And what they found is that the costs for treating heart diseases went down 87%. The costs for treating cancer went down 56%. And the costs for treating nervous disorders went even down 94%. There was only one area where the meditators were more expensive, and that is the first bar on the left top, and that is for childbirth. So they were thinking, are the meditators more fertile than other people? And what they did is they were sending a questionnaire to all the ladies who had delivered at that time. And as you know, there are certain checkups before delivery and after delivery. And the meditating mothers, they were taking them very rigorously, and therefore they were slightly more expensive. But the overall savings, just by practicing TM, for the health insurance was 50%. And there are quite a few more studies from other health insurances, like in Canada. They just took new people out of their clients. They said, we would like to make a study. We pay you the costs for learning transcendental meditation. And already in the first year, they had a reduction of 25%. So there are many more studies. I can just hint at some of those. All these 700 studies, which were conducted at more than 250 independent universities and medical schools in 33 countries over the last 50 years, they have been compiled in the collective papers of scientific research. And you can Google it and you will find all the studies, even sorted by diseases. So what we are proposing is to utilize transcendental meditation for ourselves and to recommend it to our patients and for the whole country to improve their health by introducing this wonderful technique. It's not that we have to believe in it. It's not a religion. People from all religions, all walks of life can learn it. It just requires a qualified teacher, because it can only be learned personally from teachers who have been trained by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and the time to learn it and the time to practice it. That's all. So when we summarize the health benefits, it's rejuvenating the nervous system, it's helping us to get off the psychosomatic diseases, it's improving the immune system and our vitality in general. So we have seen first that meditation is there to develop the full state of consciousness, to ultimately gain the state of enlightenment. And the brain research shows that with every year of meditation, our intelligence increases and our brain begins to function better. But TM not only helps with evolving the potential of the mind and the health, it also improves social relationships. Our relationships become better when we meditate. When we have less stress, we have more appreciation for others. We are more alert. And when we have more appreciation, the ability to love grows. There are many companies that have introduced transcendental meditation. About 2 weeks ago, I was asked by the Indian industry and the Ayush ministry to talk about yoga break. And if you would like to see that presentation, I give a very big overview about the benefits in all areas of life. You will find it on the website of Ayush or on the website that I'll give you, where we just have excerpted this. But coming to the problem that we have now in the world today with the war in Ukraine, for example, and there are many other wars also going on around the world. Wars come because of stress in society. And Maharishi predicted in 1974, when 1% of the population of a city or a country will practice transcendental meditation, that there will be a phase transition in the collective consciousness. And many years later, in 1974, he predicted in the 60s, and in 74 they found in America that those cities who were practicing 1% of the people TM, the crime rate went down. And Maharishi tried at that time to inspire 1% of the world's population to practice TM. And there were many successful projects where it could be proven, but the time was not yet ripe. And then in later years, when we had war, like 1978, Iran, Iraq, Vietnam, Lebanon, Maharishi invited groups, advanced people who practice TM, an advanced program, the TM City program with yogic flying, to spend their holidays in these war-stricken areas. They were not demonstrating, they were not negotiating. There were like 2,000 people who were just in the hotel halls. They were doing their collective meditation. And scientists predicted before they went to the country, they informed the press and the governments and the scientists of the country, watch, there will be a period of 2 weeks or 4 weeks where we have 2,000 people practicing TM. And we predict that the war activities will go down. And by now, there are 40 published studies that have proven this effect of creating peace in the collective consciousness. I myself participated in several of those projects. I just mentioned one of them. When we started our clinic in Bad Ems in '93, Maharishi wanted a course in Washington, D.C. They had a very high crime rate. Many schools had to close. And the mothers were concerned because they couldn't send their children to school. And some of them heard about TM. And then they wrote a letter to Maharishi, can you please help? And Maharishi said, we have to do it if the mothers ask, even though a lot of research has been done. And Professor Dr. John Hagelin, who is now the president of Maharishi International University, he organized a conference. And he was working with the police in America, FBI. And he invited all universities of America to send a professor of psychology to make the design of the research. And they predicted from the calculations of quantum physics that it needed 4,000 people to reduce the crime rate by 20%. And the project lasted 8 weeks. And we could see in the first 4 weeks, we had only 500 people. Crime rate went down. Then we had, at the last 2 weeks, more than 4,000 people, and the crime rate went down 22%. And all the scientists have gathered, or many of them, and analyzed everything that has been taken into account, like time series analysis, many, many factors, the weather, so many things. And they said the probability that other factors could have caused the crime to go down is a p-value of less than 1 into 10,000. So this is a p-value that has never been accomplished in the field of psychology. So the technology is there. It comes from your Vedic wisdom. As I said before, Maharishi Patanjali said, in the vicinity of yoga, violence will disappear. And the transcendental meditation is the practical application of this. Now, one doesn't have to believe in that. It works. It's a technology like switching on the light switch. You don't have to believe it works, you know. And it would cost nothing compared to what the weapons would cost. So if we had in India maybe half of the colleges, I understand there are about 700 colleges, let's say 350 colleges would create amongst the students a peace-creating group who is spending time in the morning, 45 minutes in the afternoon, to practice transcendental meditation in yogic flying, you would see the effect not only for India but for the whole world. So I would like to extend our invitation to learn this technique, enjoy the benefits for yourself, and at the same time create the effect for the entire world. So I think about Panchakarma I don't have to explain to you much. But also here we have done a lot of research. From our point of view, Panchakarma, to purify the body, is to enliven the flow of the inner intelligence of the body and to re-establish the connection between body and inner intelligence, the source of the health. The Maharishi organization, as you may know, Ayurveda was not known in the world. It was Maharishi Mahesh Yogi who brought it out and enlivened it and brought it to the whole world. I myself had a little role to play in that. I remember in 1982, and for 5 consecutive years, Maharishi asked Dr. Brihaspati Dev Triguna, who is the president of the All India Ayurveda Congress, to go to the annual assembly of WHO and meet the health minister, give them a taste of the pulse diagnosis. And it was my job to organize for him. So I made about 50 appointments each year with health ministers. And in many countries, health ministers are medical doctors. And when he took their pulse for 30 seconds and he told them their entire medical history and how they felt, they were very impressed. So then we presented from Maharishi's organization in the conferences to them, what is Ayurveda, what can it do? And then they invited Maharishi's universities to start training doctors in their countries. That is how it spread in the 80s. And then we had many press conferences, like in my clinic, we have produced 1,200 press reports, very positive press reports, and hundreds of TV reports. And this is how Ayurveda spread in so many countries around the world. And now I'm so happy to see that I was sitting next to one Minister of Health from Gujarat, and to the Minister of State of Ayush at the conference where I could also speak a few days back. And they appreciated what Maharishi has done, and they said now the government of India is taking over what Maharishi has started, to bring Ayurveda and yoga to the whole world. So we inspired a lot of research, like this study here shows how the toxins, the environmental toxins, pesticides, herbicides, heavy metals are reduced through the Panchakarma treatment. You may know these toxins have a half duration time of 25 years. And many of the modern diseases become because of the environmental toxins. And people who had gone through 12 days of Panchakarma, they had in average 58% less of 10 environmental toxins compared to the control group who just had a change to vegetarian organic diet. The harmful cholesterol is reduced. This is a study done at the German University of Freiburg, and that shows the risk factor for getting a heart attack is reduced through Panchakarma treatment by 20%. Even the free radicals in the blood are reduced significantly through Panchakarma. This is a wonderful study that was done with one of our preparations by the All Asia Science Institute in New Delhi. And there were a number of patients with breast cancer, and it took 6 months to develop the placebo. And they were measuring the side effects of chemotherapy in 22 categories. And they found an average reduction of the side effects of chemotherapy by 50%. So when the disease already has evolved to stage number 5 and 6, we do need modern medicine, but Ayurveda is taking care at the same time to cause the root cause of the disease and helps also to reduce the side effects. We have built already thousands of buildings around the world, the Maharishi organization, our architects, according to the principle of Sthapatya Veda. Like Ayurveda was revived, Maharishi also Sthapatya Veda with the old family traditions of India, bring it up to a really comprehensive and complete way according to the Shastras. Nothing is neglected. It's a very differentiated science. And we are going to build in our campus in Meru in the Netherlands, where Maharishi spent the last 20 years of his life. We have already 10-15 Vastu buildings, and now we're going to build a clinic and an academy for teaching courses. And the Ayush Ministry has just endorsed our courses. We have courses in the master's program of Ayurveda, and also Maharishi had developed courses for the general public so that everybody can learn the principles of Ayurveda, just in a few weeks, pulse diagnosis, diet and nutrition and the basis of Ayurveda. So these courses will be made available also online. A Panchakarma clinic will be built. This is the rendering of the building. And here are some websites. Our International Maharishi Ayurveda Foundation, my clinic in Bad Ems, Germany, and also my personal website, where you can find several presentations about different topics also. So I want to thank you very much for your attention. And if there are any questions, Professor Yola, or the audience, I would be very happy to answer them.
Dr. Pitt, I appreciate your lecture. I must thank you for giving such a lucid lecture. I was curious to know whether there are any courses developed which are also online.
Which are also?
Online.
Online, yes, yes. This master's program that Maharishi University in America is providing with 800 students is also available online. And our institute in the Netherlands is offering all these courses also online. I think the website will be ready in about 2 weeks' time. Anybody can participate in that, yeah. Yeah, I had one video about the brainwaves that we couldn't integrate. Would you like to see that? It's about 2 minutes.
So here we have an example of experience of Maharshi's Transcendental Meditation Program. I'm going to stop the screen for a moment here. You can see on the top we have the blinking cursor. Shows you the left front EEG. The second line shows you the right front EEG. And the bottom line shows you the oscillation from more to less of EEG coherence between the left and right frontal alpha EEG. You can see that the red line is at 0.9, where maximum is 1 or 100%. And so the scale goes from 0 to 100%. And we're going to continue now to see what happens when the person starts meditation. They're not meditating, and then they'll start in just a moment. Notice when they started meditation, it took them about less than half a second. Notice the high amplitude of local coherence in the front, on the left and the right hand side. And the similarity in the signals, just the waveforms look pretty similar. And that similarity is borne out by careful calculation of the EEG coherence. And let's just pause here. So we pause. You can see that right at the start of TM, coherence maximized and stayed most of the time above 90% or 0.9, which is extraordinary because the normal range of coherence is somewhere between 30 and 40% for an individual. This individual has very good brain coherence even when they're not meditating, which is averaging around 60%. And when they start meditating within less than a second, they go to that very high level.
So you see the difference before meditation and the moment they start to practice here. It's a very significant experience, cannot be denied. And you will subjectively experience this. Let me just take a minute to explain to you the different steps of learning meditation. So the first step you have covered today, that is to get an overview about the benefits of transcendental meditation. The second step takes also about an hour, where you will learn what are the principles of transcendental meditation, how does the technique work, how does it differentiate from other forms of meditation, and where does it come from. I'll just summarize for you briefly. You will be witnessing a puja to the tradition of Vedic masters, which is a preparation for the teacher. And then you will receive a mantra that is selected specifically for you, and then you will learn how to use the mantra. And that is very unique. The uniqueness and the comparison to other forms of meditation is that no effort is required, and that we really have to learn, because all the time we were told you have to make an effort to accomplish something, to concentrate, and that is not the case in transcendental meditation. So to learn the mantra and a little bit how to use it, you learn the initiation takes about an hour, hour 50 minutes, hour 30 minutes. But then you go home and you meditate already twice for 20 minutes on your own. And you will make many new experiences you will want to understand. And that is why you come together in a group to meet with the teacher. And then you will learn there are certain signs of correct meditation and certain signs of incorrect meditation. And there are many practical things how to integrate the meditation into daily life. What will I do when other thoughts come? What will I do when I get hungry during meditation? So many practical things when I get disturbed. So we need about 1.5 hours. And during that time, also the correctness of the practice will be checked. And then again you go home, you meditate twice on your own, next day you come again, you have meditated already 4 times, and you will have enough experience to understand what is the relationship between our body and the consciousness. What happens in transcendental meditation is the rest is, as I said before, is about twice as deep as during deep sleep. And the body is utilizing this rest, which means energy, to release the stresses, the blockages of the nervous system. And that is a highly fascinating topic. And you need to understand exactly how stresses are being released, how the mind and the body work together. Then again you go home, you meditate twice again, and then you come for the last step, 7th step of learning TM, and you will already have the first experiences of the long-term benefits of transcendental meditation, how higher states of consciousness are experienced really on the base of your own experience, how the inner silence is growing to be a conscious part of our daily activity. And you will learn about the advanced programs also. So I'll summarize. The first step is the introductory talk about the benefits. The second step is the talk that explains the technique, where it comes from, the mechanics of the technique. The third step is a personal interview with the TM teacher, because the teacher must get to know you a little bit better. And you may have questions that you don't want to ask in a group. For that reason, there is a 15 minutes interview before the actual fourth step, the initiation into the technique. And the steps number 5, 6, and 7 are the follow-up steps following the personal initiation on consecutive days. So if you want to learn the TM technique, there are 3 requirements. The first requirement is that you have the time for all meetings to come. 4 consecutive days, 1.5 hours each day. The second step is it costs a course fee. I don't know how much it is in India. My colleague who will come here, if Professor Yoga, when you organize, he'll tell you. And you cannot pay the meditation with money anyway. It's a gift of nature. But for the organization to be there, to spread it around the world, to do research, there has to be an organization, and some dakshina has to be given also. The next step, third requirement, is probably not applicable to anybody of you, but just to be complete, I have to mention people who have been taking unprescribed drugs, hallucinogenic drugs, they need to be free for at least 2 weeks, because we will not be able to transcend and experience the pure consciousness, the unbounded consciousness, the Atma, if our nervous system is under the influence of drugs. That is the only thing that doesn't go together with TM, is drugs, unprescribed hallucinogenic drugs. And then you are completely free, you can do it all your life, but you will need a teacher to teach you, and the training is very thorough. And the success of transcendental meditation comes because of the very solid training of the teachers. That is all that has to be said today. Did I forget anything, Professor Yola? Are there any questions from the audience? Who would like to learn TM? So, almost everyone. So, I will ask Professor Yola to organize, and the Honorable Vice Chancellor also. It's something that will be such a great gift for life. And to conclude, I would like especially to address the students here. You can be proud of your culture. You can be proud of Ayurveda. Ayurveda, Maharshi said, will be recognized in the future as the most complete and supreme system of healthcare in the world. The most supreme system of healthcare of the world, because it is complete. It includes all areas of life: mind, body, emotions, environment, and that which underlies and which permeates everything, and that is pure consciousness. So it is the greatest knowledge of the world, and knowledge has organizing power, and pure knowledge has pure organizing power. And we just have to open our mind, and this Pure consciousness is what modern physics defines as the unified field of all the laws of nature. All the laws of nature, they function from that level of pure consciousness, and that is which is connecting everything in the universe. That is the supreme intelligence. And so I wish you all success, and I was so happy, I'm so happy to be here with you all today, and I hope we will meet again, and we will implement all of these Maharshi's programs in this beautiful institution. Thank you so much. Namaste.
Just want to share my experience. So I myself is a practitioner of meditation, and I have benefited a lot from this. But you know, when it comes to a mass level, it is always what is needed is evidence-based medicine. All people need that, I think, and Maharishi Ayurveda has proven it again and again regarding TM, because I even remember a special mention in a book, The Relaxation Response, by Dr. Herbert Benson. He is a renowned cardiologist from Harvard Medical School. So he has worked on a meditation practices various, and he has also mentioned about transcendental meditation, especially in his book. So I would like to thank Mr. Pig for his very research-based oriented and evidence-based lecture for our institution. Thank you, sir, again for this lecture. And now coming to the end of the session, I would like to call upon Dr. Santosh Kamble, sir, for a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Nilesh. Good afternoon to all. On behalf of Dr. D.Y. Patil Vidyapit and management, I am glad to be here to express my vote of thanks. I express my sincere vote of thanks to our patrons, Dr. P.D. Patil sir, Chancellor DPU, Dr. Bhagyasritai Patil Madam, Pro Chancellor DPU, Dr. Smita Jadhav Madam, Executive Director and Trustee DPU, for encouraging, supporting and guiding us. I express special thanks to our today's chief guest, Mr. Luthar Pirk, for accepting our invitation within a short period of time and being here with us today. Sir, your thoughts really inspired us, and lots of students gets benefits from your ideology, sir. Thank you, sir. I would like to extend my sincere heartfelt gratitude towards our N.J. Pawar sir, Vice Chancellor DPU, and A.N. Suryakar sir, Registrar DPU, for supporting and guiding us. I wish to express my sincere thanks to all the head of the institutes, deans and directors of constituent colleges of the Dr. D.Y. Patil Vidyapit. Special thanks to our Dr. Gunwant Yeola sir, Principal Ayurved College, who is organizing and coordinating this event within a short period of time with such grand success. So please give them a big round of applause to Dr. Gunwant Yeola sir. I would like to also express my thanks to all the coordinators appointed for the 3 months yoga activity from various constituent colleges for upcoming International Day of Yoga. I express my sincere thanks to all the faculty members present over here, all the DPU supporting staff, Dr. Nilesh, Dr. Pawan, Dr. Paul Madam, Mrs. Sangeeta Madam, and all IT department staff who handled this event throughout. Finally, I would like to thank to all the students to present here and making this event a grand success. Thank you. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, Santosh sir. Thank you, everybody. Now I officially announce that our today's session is over. Thank you.